Learning is a fundamental part of life. From the moment we are born, we begin to absorb information from the world around us. This process of learning continues throughout our lives, shaping who we are and how we interact with the world. It's how we grow, adapt, and thrive in an ever-changing world. Whether it's learning to walk, mastering a new language, or understanding complex scientific theories, learning is at the core of our development. Yet many people struggle with learning effectively. They may find themselves overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information available, unsure of where to start or how to proceed. They may feel overwhelmed by information, struggle to retain what they've learned, or simply lack the motivation to engage with new material. This can lead to frustration and a sense of defeat, making the learning process seem like an insurmountable challenge. This is where the importance of learning how to learn comes in. By developing effective learning strategies, we can overcome these obstacles and unlock our full potential. By understanding the mechanics of our own minds and how we best acquire knowledge, we can unlock our full learning potential. This involves recognizing our individual learning styles, whether we are visual, auditory, or kinesthetic learners, and tailoring our study methods accordingly. It's like having a set of tools and techniques that empower us to learn anything we set our minds to. These tools can include mnemonic devices, active reading strategies, and effective note-taking methods, all designed to enhance our ability to absorb and retain information. Imagine being able to confidently tackle any subject, from complex scientific concepts to new languages or practical skills. The possibilities are endless when we know how to learn effectively. This is the power of mastering the art of learning. It opens doors to new opportunities and allows us to achieve our goals with greater ease and confidence. It's about working smarter, not harder, and developing a lifelong love of learning. When we enjoy the process of learning, it becomes a rewarding and fulfilling part of our lives. By adopting effective learning strategies, we can transform ourselves from passive recipients of information into active, engaged learners. This shift in mindset can make all the difference in our educational journey. We become architects of our own understanding, building a solid foundation of knowledge that empowers us to navigate the complexities of life and achieve our full potential. With the right approach, learning can be an exciting adventure, leading us to new heights of personal and professional growth. Active engagement is the cornerstone of effective learning. It's about moving beyond passive reading or listening and actively participating in the learning process. This means asking questions, summarizing information in your own words, and relating new concepts to your existing knowledge. Think of your brain as a muscle. Just like a muscle needs to be challenged and exercised to grow stronger, your brain thrives on active engagement. When you actively engage with material, you create stronger neural connections, making it easier to understand, remember, and apply what you've learned. One effective technique for active engagement is the SQ3R method. This involves 5 steps: survey, question, read, recite, and review. First, survey the material by skimming headings and subheadings. Then, formulate questions you hope to answer while reading. Next, read the material carefully, focusing on answering your questions. After reading, recite the key points from memory. Finally, review the material regularly to reinforce your understanding. Our brains are wired to forget. This might sound counterintuitive, but it's actually a survival mechanism. By forgetting, our brains can focus on what's truly important and not get bogged down by every single detail we encounter daily. It's a natural process that helps us filter out irrelevant information. Think of it as a mental decluttering process, where only the most essential pieces of information are retained. However, this can be a major obstacle to learning. When we try to absorb new information, our brain's tendency to forget can make it challenging to retain what we've learned. We've all had the experience of cramming for an exam, only to forget most of what we learned a few days later. This happens because cramming forces our brain to take in a lot of information in a short period, which isn't conducive to long-term retention. This is where spaced repetition comes in. It's a method that can help us overcome our brain's natural forgetfulness by strategically timing our review sessions. This powerful technique leverages the science of memory to help us retain information more effectively. By spacing out our review sessions, we can reinforce our memory and make the information stick. The basic principle is simple. By reviewing material at increasing intervals, we interrupt the forgetting process and strengthen our memory traces. This means that instead of cramming, we review the material multiple times over a longer period. Imagine you're learning a new language. The sheer volume of vocabulary and grammar rules can be overwhelming. Instead of trying to memorize a long list of vocabulary words in one sitting, you could use spaced repetition. This way you break down the learning process into manageable chunks. You might review the words after a few minutes, allowing your brain to start forming initial connections, then again after a few hours, giving your brain a chance to reinforce those connections. The next day, you review again, further solidifying the information in your memory. Each time you revisit the material, you're giving your brain a chance to recall the information, strengthening the neural pathways associated with those memories. This repeated retrieval practice is key to long-term retention. This makes it less likely that you'll forget the information in the future. By using spaced repetition, you can turn your brain's natural forgetfulness into a powerful tool for learning and memory retention. Section 4. The Feynman Technique. Teaching your way to mastery. Have you ever noticed how teaching someone else a concept often helps you understand it better yourself? It's a fascinating phenomenon that many of us have experienced at some point in our lives. Whether it's helping a friend with their homework, explaining a work process to a colleague, or even tutoring a younger sibling, the act of teaching can significantly enhance our own comprehension. This is the principle behind the Feynman technique, a powerful learning method named after the renowned physicist Richard Feynman. Feynman was not only a brilliant scientist but also an exceptional teacher who believed that the key to mastering any subject was to be able to explain it in the simplest terms possible. The Feynman technique is based on the idea that the best way to learn something is to teach it to someone else. This method forces you to break down complex ideas into simpler, more digestible parts, making it easier to identify any gaps in your understanding. By explaining a concept in simple terms, we're forced to confront any gaps in our own understanding and identify areas where we need to delve deeper. This process of simplification and clarification is crucial for achieving true mastery of any subject. To use the Feynman technique, start by choosing a concept you want to learn. It could be anything from a scientific theory to a historical event, or even a new skill you're trying to acquire. Then imagine you're explaining it to a child or someone with no prior knowledge of the subject. This step is crucial because it forces you to use simple language and clear explanations, which are the hallmarks of true understanding. Write down your explanation in simple, concise language, as if you were teaching it to a friend. This written explanation serves as a tangible record of your understanding and can be revisited and refined over time. As you explain the concept, pay attention to any areas where you struggle to find the right words or where your explanation feels incomplete. These moments of difficulty are valuable indicators of where your understanding is lacking. These are the areas where you need to revisit the material and deepen your understanding. By continuously refining your explanation and filling in these gaps, you'll gradually build a more comprehensive and robust understanding of the concept. The Feynman technique is not just a learning method, it's a journey towards mastery, where teaching becomes a powerful tool for personal growth and intellectual development. Section 5. Finding your focus, taming the distractible mind. In today's hyper-connected world, distractions are everywhere. From social media notifications to the constant barrage of emails and messages, it can be incredibly challenging to maintain focus, especially when trying to learn something new. However, focus is essential for effective learning. When we're distracted, our brains struggle to process and retain information. It's like trying to fill a leaky bucket. No matter how much information we pour in, it's not going to stick if we can't focus. The good news is that focus is like a muscle. The more we exercise it, the stronger it becomes. There are several techniques we can use to train our brains to stay focused and minimize distractions. One effective technique is the Pomodoro technique. This involves setting a timer for 25 minutes of focused work, followed by a 5-minute break. Repeat this cycle 4 times, then take a longer break of 20 to 30 minutes. Section 6. Time management, making every minute count. Time is a precious resource, and learning often requires a significant investment of it. Effective time management is essential for balancing our learning goals with other commitments and responsibilities. Procrastination is a common obstacle to effective time management. We may put off studying or working on projects until the last minute, leading to stress and subpar results. By developing good time management habits, we can overcome procrastination and make the most of our time. One helpful strategy is to create a schedule and stick to it as much as possible. Block out specific times for learning, just as you would for any other important appointment. Break down large tasks into smaller, more manageable chunks, and set realistic goals for each study session. Another useful tip is to prioritize tasks based on their importance and urgency. Focus on completing the most crucial tasks first, and don't be afraid to delegate or eliminate less important activities. Remember, effective time management is about working smarter, not harder.